Lu Sheng sat in his classroom as the laughter of his classmates echoed around him. To the world, he was just a loser who spent every second of the day sleeping through his lessons. But when Lu closed his eyes, he was transported to a scorched wasteland where only monsters roamed. A decayed zombie suddenly lunged at him from the shadows, its teeth bared for a lethal bite. Reacting on instinct, Lu smashed the creature's head with a heavy rock until it stopped moving. Black energy began flowing from the corpse directly into Lu's body. Images of the zombie's entire life and martial training flooded into his mind in a single instant. He realized this nightmare was set 10,000 years in the future, containing advanced knowledge lost to his era. As a second zombie attacked, Lu tore it apart effortlessly using the inherited strength of the first. He deduced that finding a nearby military base in this dream world could reveal the hidden truth of the disaster. When he finally awakened at home, the familiar voice of his sister snapped him out of his daze. His younger sister, Lu Xinghe, scolded him for napping but stopped when she saw his sweat-soaked shirt. Lu checked his reflection in the mirror and was stunned to see well-defined muscles he never had before. He wondered if the powers absorbed in his dreams could truly cross over into his reality. Around 300 years ago, dimensional cracks appeared, unleashing monsters and awakening human powers. This marked the beginning of the martial arts era, where potential was everything. At the dinner table, Lu devoured his mother's rice like a starving animal, his body craving energy. Xingyi pointed out that his last blood level was only 0.8, making him a failure in her eyes. Lu decided he needed to test his new strength at a local martial arts club. He stood before the registration board, noting the high fees only wealthy families could afford. A receptionist directed him to room 8 to measure his combat and health status. The machine's display revealed a reading of 0.9, an increase achieved in just a 1-hour dream. Next, Lu channeled the zombie's battle techniques and struck the machine with focused force. The screen revealed a combat power of 113, leaving Lu stunned by his own rapid growth. He calculated that if 1 hour gave him this much, an entire night's sleep would be transformative. However, back at home, the excitement of his progress made it impossible to fall asleep. To tire himself out, he began practicing the movements he remembered from the future warriors. He completed the same sequence 200 times, pushing his limits until his muscles screamed. After the session, an intense hunger hit him as his body burned through every calorie. Realizing he needed expensive supplements to keep growing, Lu focused on earning school scholarships. The next day at the gym, his friend Ming was stunned to see Lu's dramatic physical change. Ming joked that he must be training just to impress girls, doubting his commitment. Lu ignored the jabs, focusing entirely on the upcoming live combat session. Instructor Zhang, a rank 2 martial artist with battlefield scars, took the lead. The top student, young Eifei, stepped forward confidently to demonstrate his skills. While others were mesmerized, Lu found Eifei's techniques to be surprisingly simple. Instructor Zhang spotted Lu's calm posture and called him up to spar with Eifei. Eifei warned Lu not to break his own hands during the fall, mocking his low status. Eifei launched an unexpected strike, confident that victory always favored the stronger. To everyone's shock, Lu dodged the attack and countered with a punch that sent Eifei flying. The students froze as Eifei crashed into the wall, unconscious from a single hit. Lu looked at his own hand, realizing his training was working better than he ever imagined. Lu Sheng stood in his small room, feeling the residual heat of the dream fire coursing through his veins. He clenched his fist, noticing that the skin felt harder and his grip far tighter than just 24 hours ago. It was time to confirm if the progress in the dream world truly translated to his physical body in the real world. He walked toward the school training hall, his steps feeling oddly light as if gravity had lost its hold on him. Students were gathering around the blood qi testing machines, their faces filled with anxiety and ambition. A group of elite students stood near the front, led by the arrogant and talented Yi Fei. Lu Sheng ignored their posturing and moved toward the most basic strength testing pillar. The instructor yelled out for the next student to step up and prove their worth. Lu Sheng stepped into the circle, drawing a few confused glances from his classmates who remembered him as a bottom-tier student. He took a deep breath, visualizing the breathing technique he had stolen from the memories of the future zombies. Suddenly, he threw a punch that moved so fast it created a visible ripple in the air. A deafening boom echoed through the hall as his fist connected with the reinforced metal padding. The digital display on the machine flickered wildly before turning completely dark. The instructor dropped his clipboard as smoke began to pour from the back of the device. The entire training hall fell into a heavy, suffocating silence as every eye turned toward Lu Sheng. Yi Fei pushed through the crowd, his face twisted in a mixture of anger and confusion. He demanded to know how a loser like Lu Sheng could have possibly damaged a high-grade testing machine. Lu Sheng simply looked at his knuckles, which didn't have a single scratch on them after the impact. He told Yi Fei that the machine must have been old and poorly maintained. Insulted by the lack of respect, Yi Fei challenged him to a duel right there on the training mat. The other students quickly formed a circle around the mat, sensing a massive upset in the school hierarchy. Lu Sheng stepped onto the mat, his eyes tracking the subtle shifts in Yi Fei's posture. To Lu Sheng, Yi Fei's movements seemed slow and amateurish compared to the lethal monsters in the dream. Yi Fei lunged forward, executing a high-level kick designed to end the fight instantly. Lu Sheng tilted his head just an inch, letting the foot whistle past his ear with a gust of wind. Before Yi Fei could recover, Lu Sheng placed a single palm against his opponent's chest. A surge of explosive qi erupted from his hand, sending Yi Fei flying backward across the room. The elite student crashed into a row of weapon racks, the metal clattering loudly as he tumbled to the floor. The instructor forgot to blow his whistle, staring at the scene in complete disbelief. Lu Sheng didn't even wait for the count, turning his back and walking toward the exit. The school principal, watching from the balcony, whispered that they had found a monster in their midst. Lu Sheng reached the locker room, finally allowing a small smile to touch his lips. He knew this was only the beginning of his transformation and that the real challenges were yet to come. News of the Shattered Scale event spread through the school like wildfire within minutes. Many wondered where Lu Sheng had been hiding this level of power all these years. Unknown to him, several secret organizations began to flag his name for further investigation. As the sun set, Lu Sheng felt a familiar drowsiness pulling at his consciousness. The dream world was calling him back, and this time, the darkness felt even more oppressive. He closed his eyes and immediately found himself standing in the center of a ruined military base. A flickering holographic screen appeared before him, displaying a message that froze his heart. The message read, "Identity confirmed, successor of the final flame, initialization, 1% complete." From the shadows of the ruins, a giant metallic hand reached out, shaking the very ground Lu Sheng stood on. The massive metallic hand lunges forward, its rusted fingers scraping against the concrete as Lu Sheng rolls desperately to the side. He springs to his feet, eyes darting around the wreckage for an entrance to the reinforced bunker hidden beneath the rubble. With a surge of strength, he wrenches the heavy emergency lever, hearing the groan of ancient gears as the circular vault door slowly rotates. Lu Sheng descends into the darkness, his boots echoing against the cold metal stairs of the silent military installation. The lights suddenly flicker to life, revealing rows of advanced computer consoles and holographic displays covered in a thick layer of dust. He approaches the central terminal, brushing away the grime to reveal a glowing interface that pulses with a faint rhythmic light. A flickering hologram of a female AI appears before him, her digital form sparking with static as she begins to speak in a synthesized voice. The AI identifies itself as the Guardian and begins to display data logs from the year 12,000, detailing the final days of humanity. Lu Sheng watches images of sky-sized monsters descending upon fortified cities, tearing through the strongest martial artists like they were paper. He realizes that everything he knows, his home, his family, and the Martial Arts Association is destined to be erased from existence. The AI explains that the only way to survive the coming cataclysm is to master the lost divine soul technique, a method of psychic cultivation. Lu Sheng sits in a meditative pose as the AI begins to transmit vast amounts of data directly into his consciousness. He groans as his mind feels like it's being torn apart by the sheer volume of advanced knowledge and spiritual energy. A faint golden orb begins to glow at the center of his forehead, representing the awakening of his psychic sea. Slowly, the pain subsides, replaced by a crystalline clarity that allows him to perceive the world in 360 degrees. He reaches out with his mind, lifting a heavy piece of fallen metal with nothing but the power of his will. The AI warns him that the mentalist path is dangerous, as the human soul is fragile compared to the beasts of the void. Lu Sheng begins practicing the first level of the stellar soul refining method, visualizing his mind as a vast, burning sun. To test his new power, he ventures deeper into the base where a pack of mutant robotic hounds has sensed his presence. 3 mechanical beasts leap from the vents, their glowing red eyes locked onto his throat. Instead of swinging his spear, Lu Sheng releases a silent wave of mental energy that slams into the hounds like an invisible wall. The mechanical creatures are crushed into scrap metal instantly, their internal processors fried by the psychic blast. He looks at his hands, realizing that his physical strength has also doubled due to the mental refinement of his nervous system. The AI tells him it's time to return to the present world, as his physical body is nearing its limit for this dream cycle. Sheng vows to the AI that he will change the future, no matter how many gods or monsters he must slay. He wakes up in his bed, the morning sun streaming through the window and the sound of his alarm ringing in his ears. He immediately closes his eyes and feels the golden sun still burning brightly within his mind, a permanent gift from the future. Walking to the mirror, he notices his skin has a faint metallic sheen, and his eyes are sharper, more piercing than before. He knows he must find a way to earn money for high-level nutrients to support his rapidly evolving brain. He remembers the Grand Master's alchemist memories he absorbed earlier and realizes he can create legendary potions. Sheng visits the local market to buy raw herbs, his new mental senses allowing him to pick out the highest quality items instantly. He rents a small private workshop in the industrial district, away from prying eyes and the school's surveillance. Inside, he uses his mental power to control the heat of a small furnace, precisely distilling the essence of the herbs. A single drop of emerald green liquid forms at the tip of the distiller, glowing with a pure medicinal energy. This potion, the Marrow Refinement Dew, will sell for millions at the underground auction house. As he walks home, he senses he is being followed by 3 men in black suits, their auras cold and professional. He leads them into a deserted park, stopping in the center of a grassy field under the moonlight. The men demand the formula for the potion he made, claiming they represent a powerful corporate family. Sheng doesn't say a word. Instead, he expands his psychic sea, creating an invisible dome of pressure that forces the men to their knees. Just as he is about to finish them, the ground begins to tremble, and a shadowy rift opens behind him, leaking a familiar, terrifying energy. The shadowy rift behind Sheng pulses with a rhythmic, heartbeat-like sound that vibrates through the very air. He realizes that his time in the dreamscape is ending as the world around him begins to pixelate and fade. Opening his eyes in the real world, he finds himself sitting inside a sleek military transport vehicle. Outside the window, the imposing gates of the Dongning Province Prodigy Training Camp loom ahead. A group of students from larger cities watches his arrival, whispering mockingly about the nobody from Bay City. Sheng steps off the vehicle, his boots clicking firmly against the pavement as he ignores their insults. Instructor Jin steps forward, his eyes narrowing as he notices Sheng lacks the prestigious rank badge worn by others. He bellows that the camp is for elite prodigies, not for those who rely on connections to enter. Sheng simply asks where the first testing chamber is located, his voice devoid of any intimidation. Jin scoffs and points toward a massive dome labeled Gravity Trial 01. The gravity chamber is a high-pressure environment designed to crush the resolve of the weak. Sheng enters the room and the heavy pneumatic doors hiss shut behind him. The system announces that the trial will begin at twice the normal Earth gravity. As the weight settles on his shoulders, Sheng doesn't even flinch. Outside, the other students watch the monitors, waiting for him to collapse in shame. To their shock, Sheng reaches for the control panel and manually overrides the settings. The display jumps immediately to 4 times gravity, causing the floor to groan under the sudden pressure. Sheng begins to practice the stellar body refining technique he mastered in his dreams. Each movement he makes creates a small shockwave that ripples through the dense air. Instructor Jin watches the power output levels spike into the danger zone. Sheng feels his blood boiling with newfound strength as his muscles adapted to the crushing weight. He then punches the button again, raising the gravity to a staggering 5 times normal levels. A warning siren blares throughout the facility, signaling that the chamber is reaching its structural limit. After an hour, the gravity shuts off, and the steam-filled chamber doors slide open. Sheng walks out, completely dry and breathing normally as if he had just taken a stroll. The crowd of students is deathly silent, their previous arrogance replaced by sheer disbelief. Jin demands to know what kind of monster he is, but Sheng merely asks for the location of the agility test. Without waiting for an answer, he walks toward the laser grid arena. The agility arena is filled with hundreds of high-speed laser emitters designed to strike any moving target. Most students struggle to dodge even a few lasers, but Sheng requests the Hell mode setting. Thousands of red beams suddenly ignite, creating a nearly impenetrable web of light. Sheng closes his eyes, using his psychic perception to track the trajectory of every single beam. He begins to move, his body blurring into a series of afterimages as he weaves through the gaps. The lasers move at lightning speed, but he maneuvers as if he is performing a graceful dance. The instructors try to slow down the recording to see how he is doing it, but his speed remains too high. As the final laser shuts off, Sheng stands at the far end of the room, untouched. One student whispers that Sheng isn't a human, but a monster in disguise. Having broken every record in the camp's history, Sheng feels the gaze of someone powerful watching him from above. A tall, elegant man in a white suit stands on the balcony, his eyes glowing with an intense interest. He whispers to himself that the true hunt is finally about to begin. Suddenly, the ground beneath the camp tremors violently as a massive beast's roar echoes from the nearby forbidden zone. Sheng grips his spear tightly, sensing a presence far more dangerous than anything he has faced in the real world. High above, the mysterious man disappears into the shadows, leaving behind a single terrifying question: who is the hunter and who is the prey? Sheng stood at the base of the martial sage tower, feeling the oppressive weight of ancient legacies pressing down on his shoulders. He stepped through the massive obsidian gates, which groaned open like the maw of a slumbering beast. The air inside was thick with the residue of thousands of years of combat intent. He knew that every floor of this tower contained the consciousness and fighting techniques of humanity's greatest martyrs. In his dreams, he had seen these very masters fall to the alien tide, but here, they were at their absolute peak. Sheng summoned his silver-gray spear, the weapon vibrating in anticipation of the trials ahead. Suddenly, the space in front of him shimmered as a holographic projection materialized into a solid form. The first opponent was a legendary spearmaster from the 3rd millennium, renowned for his lightning-fast strikes. Without a word, the clone lunged forward, his weapon becoming a blur of lethal precision. Sheng didn't flinch, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to see the trajectory of the attack clearly. He parried the strike with a heavy swing, the impact sending a shockwave through the stone floor. Utilizing the advanced body-refining methods from the future, Sheng pushed back with overwhelming force. With a single decisive overhead strike, he shattered the clone's defense and sent it dissolving back into data. He didn't stop to rest, immediately moving toward the stairs leading to the next level. On the 10th floor, the temperature dropped significantly as a master of ice techniques awaited him. Sharp icicles rained down from the ceiling, forcing Sheng to spin his spear like a shield. He ignited his spear with crimson flames, melting the frost and charging through the blizzard. The Ice Master fell quickly, unable to withstand the sheer heat of Sheng's concentrated will. As he reached the 50th floor, his breath came in ragged gasps, but his spirit remained unbroken. He was now entering the domain of the Grandmasters, men and women whose names were etched into the bedrock of history. A clone of a great saint stood before him, exuding an aura so powerful it felt like gravity itself had increased. This was the legendary Saint of the Golden Palm, a man who had once defended the capital from a horde of rank 9 monsters. Sheng entered his supreme mental state, centering his psyche to resist the elder's spiritual pressure. The saint struck with a palm of pure light, creating a crater where Sheng had stood a millisecond before. Sheng realized that traditional martial arts wouldn't be enough to defeat a literal legend. He reached deep into the 10,000-year-old memories of the future, pulling forth a forbidden soul-refining technique. His spear transformed, its metal turning into a liquid-like plasma that hummed with the frequency of the stars. He lunged, his body moving so fast that he left multiple afterimages in his wake. The Saint clone attempted to block, but the futuristic technique bypassed his physical defenses entirely. The spear of the future pierced the heart of the past, and the Saint smiled before vanishing into stardust. Sheng slumped to his knees, his energy reserves completely depleted from the intense psychic strain. He had achieved what no other student in the history of the province had ever dared to attempt. High above in the control room, the camp directors stared at the monitor in stunned silence. The data readings were off the charts, suggesting Sheng's power level was nearing the mythical Grand Master rank. One director whispered into a secure communicator, informing the higher-ups of the anomaly in the tower. Sheng stood up, feeling his body absorbing the experience and power of the fallen saint. He looked at the final set of stairs, leading to the very top of the martial sage tower. There the final boss awaited, the clone of the first sage, the founder of modern martial arts. As Sheng reached the top, he found no warrior, but a simple wooden table with 2 cups of tea. A voice whispered from the void, "You have the scent of the future on you, little spearman." Sheng realized the tower's AI hadn't just created a clone, It had summoned a shard of a real soul. The tea in the cups began to ripple, reflecting a world on fire, the very apocalypse Sheng was trying to prevent. Behind him, the exit sealed shut with a heavy thud, trapping him at the summit. The voice spoke again, louder this time. If you wish to save them, you must first die here. Sheng braced himself as the entire tower began to shake, the test turning into a real struggle for survival. The vibrations from the Martial Sage Tower subsided as Sheng stepped out into a world gripped by sudden terror. Alarms blared across the city as news of a double S-rank beast stampede reached the high command. Sheng looked toward the horizon where a dark, suffocating cloud of dust signaled the approach of the monster tide. Without waiting for orders, he summoned his silver-gray spear and leapt toward the defensive walls. On the front lines, soldiers trembled as they watched the earth literally move under the weight of millions of monsters. A colossal 8-winged serpent rose from the back of the pack, its roar shattering the glass of nearby outposts. Just as the first wave crashed into the gate, a golden streak of light descended from the sky like a falling star. Sheng stood in the center of the crater, his presence alone causing the nearby beasts to hesitate. He swung his spear in a wide arc, releasing a wave of crimson fire that incinerated hundreds of monsters instantly. The commander on the wall watched through binoculars, unable to believe a single man could hold back a stampede. Sheng activated his star-refining technique, drawing in the essence of the fallen to fuel his escalating power. Amidst the chaos, a group of high-ranking martial artists watched from the shadows, plotting Sheng's downfall. These corrupt masters had been bribed by rival factions to ensure the prodigy never returned from the front. Sheng's mental sense, honed by the futuristic AI, immediately detected the murderous intent aimed at his back. He didn't turn around, instead focusing his fury on the 8-winged serpent charging toward him. With a thunderous boom, he launched himself into the air, piercing the serpent's primary skull with a single thrust. The massive creature crashed to the earth, its fall crushing thousands of smaller beasts in its wake. Sensing the traitors moving in, Sheng landed softly and vanished in a blur of speed. The hooded masters barely had time to react before Sheng appeared directly in their midst. "You chose to betray humanity at its darkest hour," he whispered, with a voice like grinding stone. The lead traitor swung a heavy broadsword, but Sheng caught the blade with his bare hand. With a simple flex of his psychic power, the traitor's weapon shattered into 1,000 pieces. In a series of blinding movements, he executed the corrupt masters, leaving no room for mercy. He looked at their fallen forms, mourning not for them, but for the weakness of the human heart. Refocusing on the battle, he saw the final wave of the stampede preparing for a desperate charge. Sheng closed his eyes and tapped into the 10,000-year legacy of the martial sages. A giant phantom spear, hundreds of meters long, formed in the sky above him. With a downward gesture, he commanded the phantom weapon to strike the earth. The resulting impact wiped out the remaining beast horde, leaving only a scorched, silent wasteland behind. The soldiers on the wall dropped their weapons in disbelief, realizing they had witnessed a miracle. As the sun began to rise, the silence of victory settled over the province. Sheng walked back toward the city, his armor scorched but his spirit stronger than ever. Thousands of people lined the streets, cheering for the rising god of war who had saved them. He spotted his parents in the crowd, their faces wet with tears of relief and pride. Sheng gave them a small nod, acknowledging that his strength finally meant something real. That night, he entered the dreamscape one last time to thank the shadows of the future. The futuristic AI flickered, its tasks complete as the timeline of destruction began to shift. "I have changed the fate of the world," Sheng realized as the dream world dissolved into light. He woke up in his room, the sun shining through the window on a peaceful morning. Humanity was no longer doomed, for its protector had finally arrived to lead the way.